How would you take a little turnaround like and expand it into your chorus and pre-chorus section? Let's talk about it. Hi, my name is Matty Gregg, and I am doing a series of deep dives into the Strokes and what makes them tick. So if that's something that interests you and you want to see more of it, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that stuff. And if you want to support what I do, you can check out my Patreon, which is in the link below. There's a bunch of cool stuff. Like voting on what song I do next, getting access to instrumentals of like little piano versions of the stuff that I'm going to be doing in these songs in the background, or even sponsoring a minute-long music theory video of a song of your choice. So check it out. The response to my last video, the part 1 of this hard to explain video, is still blowing me away. Like I can't believe how much of you guys appreciate what I'm doing here and want more of it, and I am more than happy to provide. That being said, I need to address a couple things that other people brought up in the comment section of the last video before we dive into the rest of this. First off, a lot of people were telling me that I was using the wrong solfege syllables, and that's actually just because I was using a different system than they are and were. A lot of people use something called fixed do, where C is always do, and D is always re, and E is always mi, etc. I use a system called movable do, where do is always the first scale degree, re is always the second scale degree, and so on. I have my reasons for preferring movable do over fixed do, but everyone has, their own flavor that they prefer, and that's totally fine. And if you want to know my reasons, maybe I'll address that in a different video, but go research it if you're interested about that kind of stuff. But I use movable do. Point number 2 we have to address is this is an analysis of what was done and how the song works. This is not any qualitative claim that this is what Julian Casablancas and the Strokes were thinking about when they wrote the song and the theory that they used to write this song. That is not the claim of this video at all. And in fact, the saying goes, theory follows practice, not the other way around. Julian Casablancas made a song. That was the practice. And then we, as theorists and musicians, look at the practice and theorize about it. Why does it work? Why does it make us feel good? Why does it this? Why does it that? Why do we like it? We're not saying that's exactly what he was thinking. Oh, but in that case, none of this is valid at all, and there's no point to doing this because he wasn't even aware of the theory that when he was doing it. Yeah, well, just because you baked a loaf of bread and you don't know anything about chemistry and what happens in the oven doesn't mean it didn't happen. So it doesn't matter if he knew what he was doing. He did it anyway. You know what I mean? Plus, we do know, actually, that Julian Casablancas did have some amount of music education and definitely had a basic understanding of 4-part harmony and Western harmonic progression and tonalism. Plus, I actually have this theory that the entire album Is This It is actually just an exploration of applying basic choral, SATB 4-part harmony onto a rock band instrumentation. Maybe I'll make a video about that one day. Let me know if that sounds interesting to you. And point number 3, let's say you like baking bread and you like to do it. And let's say you have a friend who also likes to bake bread. Let's say you don't care about the chemistry. You don't research anything about yeast or conduction of heat or anything like that. But your friend is really into that stuff. He likes learning about it because it's interesting to him. If that makes you angry and makes you want to spout vitriol at them, you got some personal problems you got to work through, my friend. Really, you shouldn't be driven to anger because somebody or even a community of people is interested in an aspect of a field that you are not interested in, even if you work or play in that field. Be nice. Lord, I don't understand why the concept of music theory makes some people so mad. Enough about that, let's get to the song. It's hard to explain. So, with the song Hard to Explain, we go through this big, long chord progression to end up back at the 1 chord at the end, with the guitars playing the G chord in different ways. I think Albert palm mutes up here and Nick palm mutes down here. Either way, we know that we are on a G chord for the whole time. But Nikolai on the bass is playing this little motion. Do, mi, do, re. And what that really accomplishes is allowing us to have this sense of rest and completeness because we are staying on the tonic the whole time. And the tonic, the 1 chord, is your home. That's the home base of the key. So we get to feel like we've completed our journey through the chord progression of the verse. Now we're back at home, but changing the bass and keeping the chord the same allows us to add some energy and some excitement, some contour for when we go back to the beginning of the verse, moving back away from home. So it prepares us to start again, while still providing that sense of completeness to our journey. And we go through that whole chord progression 3 times, almost. The first time with the instrumentals in the intro of the song, the second time when the vocals come in for the verse, and the third time things end a little bit differently. Rather than going right from this 2 chord motif back to the 1 chord, we hold on to this a little bit longer, doubling the length of that A minor chord, our 2 chord. And then after holding on to this A minor chord a little bit longer, we jump up here to go to the pre-chorus. And when the pre-chorus starts, Albert is playing this same G chord up here. Nick is palm muting a D and a G, which is still just a G chord. And Nikolai is, again, just playing the G, which is exactly the same chord with a different voicing. And I think that is a really clever way of solving the issue of, when we go to our pre-chorus, it goes to the same chord that our verse starts and ends on, so it doesn't feel like enough is happening. Why don't we listen to what it would sound like if they left the verse exactly the same and then just plopped the pre-chorus at the end of it without changing that transition? I don't see it that way. I don't see it that way. Raised in Caroline. You get the point. It doesn't really work. It doesn't give that same sense of trajectory and movement, progression through the song to a different section. Whereas doing it the way that they did it definitely does. I don't see it that way. I don't see it that way. Raised in Caroline. Works way better, doesn't it? It works really well because it provides something new to the end of a section you have already heard for now the 3rd time, but it also makes the new section, the pre-chorus, extremely welcome. It feels very welcome because it is slightly familiar already, because we are used to going from this chord to this chord. But we just do it slightly differently now. It feels great. It's, again, a very, very clever way to structure a song. And that is something that I see in the Strokes music a lot, is the way they structure their songs to be incredibly clever. They're taking advantage of the fact that they have conditioned you to expect a certain chord after another chord in order to make their transition between sections that much smoother and better. This is the kind of stuff, the minutia, that really makes a song pop with that little extra polish, and is exactly the kind of stuff that you can take advantage of in your own writing. So now that we've transitioned, what is the pre-chorus? Let's take a look at it. We have Albert playing this G chord up here the entire time. Nikolai plays this bass line of the 1, 6, 3, 2. Nick, on the other guitar, plays basically the exact same thing, palm muted, just doubling up the bass line an octave above, with a G pedal tone on top of those palm muting parts. So if you put that all together, what that looks like is a G, G over E, maybe a E minor 7, G over B, G over A. Let's continue the tradition of using some interesting Matty Gregg proprietary graphs to visually represent the music here in a way that's not sheet music. Check this out. Okay, so we're going to drop another shitty graph. Woo, we love to see it. And on this one, we still have time on the y-axis like usual. So each of these dotted lines represents a bar line. So we have 4 bars here. Let's also just arbitrarily pick some colors to assign to some different chords and note values just to have a different way of visualizing things. So let's say that this blue section here in the middle is the consistent G chord you see being played by both Nick and Albert. And now let's go ahead and do the same thing for the bass notes. So we have a G in the bottom, right? Let's just use the same color for that, a blue, right? And we get that here and here. Let's say then we go up to our B briefly. Let's call that green, again arbitrarily here. And we go back, and now we're gonna go back up to our A here. And that's really what you're gonna see if you were just to take these notes here, like the chord again represented in the middle with the bass line represented on the bottom, and that's gonna look like this. Now let's take a look at the pre-chorus and apply the same visualization to. As you see here, the pre-chorus is twice as long as the end of the verse turnaround, but we'll get to that later. The chord that you're seeing here is a G, consistently represented by this blue wash right here. And looking at the bass notes, again we start on a G, and this time that lasts in the bass for 2 bars, and then we go to an E, the 6th of the scale, and I'm just gonna say that that's a purple. And then we go up to our B, the 3rd scale degree, which we have decided is green. Then we go down to our yellow, which is our A note, the 2nd scale degree. So I'm going to speed things up a little bit, but it's going to sound something like this. And now let's put those graphs next to each other like this. Look how visually similar these things are. Like they were just kind of recycling their own material when they were writing this pre-chorus. I mean, they really just took exactly what they did for the end of the verse, and they added in an extra note in here, the E note, and changed the rhythm of it around a little bit. And that's the pre-chorus. Let's move forward and take a look at the chorus before we come back to this. In the chorus, you have Albert, again, just hammering away on this same exact G chord. Nick is playing the melody, doubling up. Mi, so, mi, fa, mi, so, mi, fa, mi, do, mi, do, re, do. And Nikolai just hammers away on the G, B, A, G. That's just 1, 3, 2, 1, 1, 3, 2, 1. All right, and you already know where this is going, everybody. That's right. We have a G chord being sustained in the middle here. Woo, we love to see it. How about that? And yep, we're going to see the same thing here where it goes G for 2 bars in the bottom, and then it goes up to our 3, our B for a bar, and then it goes down to our A, 2, also for a bar. So now you compare that to the other parts of the song that we drew out, and you'll see it is all pretty much exactly the same. I mean, it's really crazy to see here how they literally took the end of that verse and just expanded it into the pre-chorus and the chorus. I mean, that's crazy. They were able to do that and have them be so strikingly similar, but to us, the listener, feel like they're distinct different parts of the song. And here lies the question, how did they do that? We could start, first of all, by talking about rhythm, which we talked about a lot in the last video too. But this time we're going to talk about something called harmonic rhythm. The harmonic rhythm of a song is, or a section, is how quickly and to what extent the harmony changes across time. So let's take Thread of Joy, another song by The Strokes, as an example. In the verse, the chord changes every bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the harmonic rhythm, is one chord per bar. Whereas in the chorus, the chord changes every 2 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the harmonic rhythm of the verse of Thread of Joy is twice as fast as the harmonic rhythm of the chorus is. But going back to Hard to Explain, let's look at the harmonic rhythm of each of these different sections that are so similar harmonically. So in the verse, it stays on the G almost the entire time and only goes to the B and the A and the bass for a half a bar each. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And what that's telling you is that we are definitively here. This is where we are. We're really not going anywhere. It's really more of a thought than it is an actual journey of moving somewhere. Ah, yes, here I am at home, but I'd like to go there next. But, I'm still here, and let me get ready to go, pack my backpack, and we're on our way. And then looking at the pre-chorus, we change chords every 2 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So not only do we stay on each chord for much longer than we stay on any of the chords at the end of the verse, but the journey from beginning to end and then starting over takes twice as long. We're just establishing some distinctions, some differences between the sections here. And then in the chorus, we stay on the G in the bass for 2 bars, and then the B and the A both for only 1 bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And though it is the same length of the whole progression, because the harmonic rhythm is different, it feels different. Rather than it just feeling like, all right, we're home and I'm thinking about it, but I'm still here and I'm gonna get ready to go and go. It feels like we actually are running and running. We're here, we go somewhere and triumphantly return back. All right, back at safety. Let's go again. I don't know, it's almost like doing laps in the pool. I don't know, you get the point. This is more of a journey. We are here and then we leave. Maybe we're going to our memories, I don't know. We're still not quite back home. We actually have gone somewhere. Now we're coming back. There we are. But the differences in harmonic rhythm are not the only differences there. There's other ways that these sections distinguish themselves from each other despite being so similar. Of course, there's the slight flavor notes that are being added, right? At the end of the verse, we really are just G the whole way with the exception of just that add 2. This is the flavor of the end of the verse. Now in the pre-chorus, we have 2 new flavors added, being both present in the melodies. Let's take a look. Do, do, sol, sol, ti, la, sol, mi, sol, mi. Right here, the ti and the la. So when you put everything together there, ooh, this is the flavor profile of the pre-chorus. Ooh, baby, that's nice. End of the verse. Pre-chorus. And then in the chorus, again, the difference is going to be in the melody, which is also doubled by that guitar. So what you're going to get there is mi, sol, mi, fa, mi, sol, mi, fa, mi, do, re, do, mi, do, re, do. And the thing that's different there is your 4th scale degree, the fa. At the end of the verse, we are mostly staying with the 1 chord, and we're just adding a little bit of an add 2, very briefly. In the pre-chorus, because we are adding the 6, 7 to that, we are kind of getting a major 9 add 6 kind of flavor to it using all of these colors. And we really sit in those too, by the way, because we stay on each chord for 2 bars as opposed to the 1, right? Like we are here, raised in care, oh, here it is, line up. that really is representing, thinking about like, okay, raised in Carolina, that's a memory. That was way back then, right? It's nostalgic. But because we're going to the 6th chord here with these relationships with this half steps and stuff like that, it clues you in on the fact that, is that a good thing? Is these memories that we're thinking about, are they bitter? You know, food for thought. But now on the chorus, we're kind of dealing with like a sus4, sus2 situation. Very different flavors to the major 9 that we saw in the pre-chorus. And again, you might say, oh, those aren't part of the chords, Matty Greg. Those are just passing tones. You're not supposed to include those in the harmonic analysis. Bullcrap, I say. I think that you can include those in a harmonic analysis with the understanding that I'm not doing like an exact harmonic analysis. I am simply presenting the flavors being used at the time, or in the sections, I should say. And I don't think it's fair to gatekeep the T, the major 9 feel in the pre-chorus, and that fa sus4 feeling in the chorus behind the sheet music. And maybe I'll make another video on that theoretical, philosophical sentiment another day on why I feel that way. But for now, let's talk about the next distinction between the sections here. At the end of the verse, there is no melody. There's no vocals present. I mean, you could make the argument that this little bit is a melody, but it's an instrumental melody in the accompaniment. It's more like a counter melody, like filling up the space until we get back to the vocals. But comparing the pre-chorus to the chorus, we talked about harmonic rhythm. Let's talk about melodic rhythm. Raised in Carolina. Much, much slower than I say the right thing and act the wrong way. I like it right here, though I cannot stay. Faster rhythms equal, generally, more intensity. And so he wants the chorus to be more intense. Then, of course, the melody in the chorus is going to be faster rhythmically than the melody in the pre-chorus. The same way that harmonically he kind of wanted to explore this more major, mysterious feel of the sus4 too in the chorus, and he wanted to explore the darker, sadder, more bittersweet feel of the major 9 add 6 stuff in the pre-chorus. And the lyrics back up these sentiments as well. I mean, this is composed in such a way that these things were absolutely thought about and considered. Maybe not in these exact terms or this terminology, but he explored it. He thought, I want to accentuate this feeling in this section and that feeling in that section. And he maybe messed around until he found the right thing, or maybe he did know, yes, I'm going to add this sus4 thing or this major 9 thing. Who cares? That's what's in the song. I'm just communicating the recipe. That's all I'm doing. And the final thing that distinguishes each of these sections is, of course, dynamics, arrangement, like how the people are literally playing their instruments. I mean, just looking at guitars, so Albert, in the end of the verse, is palm muting this part. In the pre-chorus, he's open, but is very light about it. And then in the chorus, he's really hammering it away, right? And same thing with Nick, right? It's palm muted at the end of the verse and in the pre-chorus, but he's choosing it to be lower. But then once you get to the chorus, he's really puts on an extra bit of overdrive and he hammers away. Same thing with the bass. He's playing very lightly in the pre-chorus, right? And then once you get to the chorus, he drops the octave. At least I think he does live. I think on the record, he actually is playing it up here on his bass. But I know in live, you watch his hands down here. And he's hammering away on a lower octave with more intensity. He's, just performing it properly. And of course, finally, the drums. Thank you, Fab. He's playing the hi-hat closed during the pre-chorus and the end of the verse. But then in the chorus, he's smashing away on the ride cymbal. All of these things do have an effect on it. And all of these things together are why we're able to move through these different sections and transitions and have them all feel so different, even though they are definitely developed from the same idea. So that's your answer of like, how would you take something like this, a little turnaround, and expand it to be other sections of your song? You change the melody, the melodic rhythm, you change the harmonic rhythm, you change just the little flavors you add in your passing tones or your bass notes and your inversions, and you change the production and arrangement and the way you're actually playing your instrument, your dynamics, your choice of tone, etc., etc. And this song is a masterclass in that, of course. And finally, I will answer the question for all who have always wanted to know: how the heck do you count the break in that song? You know the one at the end of the first chorus. It is 6 beats of silence. They cut out on beat 2 of this measure, and they come in on beat 1 of the measure after the next one.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Which is also just a really simple but effective way of starting over the top. Like, oh man, we've painted ourselves into this corner over here with this chorus. How do we start over from the top and make it feel new again? I don't know. Just totally throw them off balance and catch them off guard by throwing a bunch of silence at them in the middle of a song. Pretty cool. It's not dissimilar to actually the end of, or even the middle part of A Day in the Life by the Beatles. Like that transition, just at the end of the day, it's just throwing you totally off guard and disorienting you, you know what I mean? Hey, so there you go. It's hard to explain, baby. That's the whole thing. We analyzed the whole thing. Part 2. This was a lot of fun. It's interesting how different this one was than the first video, which goes to show you that this song is so complex. I mean, you can analyze that entire first verse in like one way and then analyze the pre-chorus and the chorus and the transitions and stuff in a totally different way. It's, you know, it's simple but effective. It's a very good song. And this song really is hard to explain. I mean, it's gonna take me like, what, 40 minutes to have broken down this song, and I probably could have gone longer if I wanted to, but I didn't want to bore you. Oh, my doggy's having a nightmare behind me. Are you okay, bud? You alright? Nightmare's over? Now you're awake? So let me know if you think I missed anything, if you have any other questions. Again, I'm still very new to this long form content format. Let me know if you have any feedback, what I should change. If you want to support me, again, you could check out my Patreon, or you can like and subscribe and all that good stuff. I still don't have a sign off, but maybe it should just be this guy panting in the background. What do you think? Cool.